$5. Inshallah, you'll take the flyer off the table, inshallah ta'ala. We call you to the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We come representing an organization called Revolution Muslim, revolutionmuslim.com. We come bearing a holistic message, much like the Imam spoke on today, that Islam is a comprehensive deen, that Islam does not just entail staying in the masjid, that Islam is not something that isolates itself from the state, that Islam is a comprehensive economic, political, and social system dedicated to spreading liberation dedicating to spreading liberation across the world, inshallah ta'ala. So we call for the liberating ideology that is al-Islam. And we call those that hear this to adhere to defending the deen. And today, in this day and age, the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is under a ferocious attack from the kuffar and the enemies of Islam. They are attacking you in Bangladesh, in Indonesia. They are attacking you in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Iraq. They are attacking you in Palestine, in Saudi Arabia, and everywhere that has ever raised the banner of La ilaha illallah. So we call you to reject the enemies of Islam and to rally around those that are waging jihad fi sabilillah, to defend Muslim honor, Muslim land, and the deen that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam brought. And that Allah Azza wa Jalla says in His Quran that it is the only deen acceptable. That it is the only deen in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is acceptable from the time of the Prophet until Yawm al-Qiyamah. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that I have been sent between now and the hour with the sword. And I have been commanded to fight until they bear testimony, La ilaha illallah. That the sustenance lies beneath the shade of my sword. And that he who imitates a people is from amongst them. So, Ya Muslimin, why in today's day and age do we imitate the enemies of Islam? Why do we dress like them, talk like them, aspire to what they aspire towards, and neglect claiming allegiance to Allah and His Messenger? Allah Azza wa Jal has said in the Quran in Surah Mujadila, Ayah 22, you will not find a people who believe in Allah and His Messenger, who believe in Allah on the last day, making and taking as friends those who oppose Allah and His Messenger, whether they be their wives, their sons, whether they be their kindred tribesmen. This is an order from Allah Azza wa Jal, who declares proudly that Muslims that accept Muhammad and Rasulullah accept that Islam is a comprehensive way of life, accept that Islam requires that you reject everything that does not agree with Islam, that you support Islam wherever it is proclaimed openly. Ya Muslimin, today in Pakistan, the Pakistani army wages a jihad against your brothers and sisters, paid for by your tax dollars, paid for by the Obama administration, the ones the leaders of this masjid told you to elect. And America continues to spend billions of dollars in its war against Islam, exhausting billions in Afghanistan and in Iraq to continue a jihad against your people. But many of you stay silent sitting here, enjoying the life and the pleasures of this world, while your brothers and sisters are attacked and slaughtered in Muslim land. But verily we come bearing a message of hope and victory, Ya Muslimin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His Quran that they first must spend their money before He inflicts a punishment upon them. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Surah Al-Anfal, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ لِيَصُدُّوا عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. That surely the disbelievers expend their riches and their wealth to extinguish, to demolish those in the path of Allah Azza wa Jalla. But Allah says that it will soon be the source of their destruction, that they're spending money in the way of fighting the mujahideen, will soon exhaust the imperialist ambitions of the enemies of Islam, and that at length the disbelievers will be defeated. And Allah Azza wa Jal goes on to explain that He performs this to see who is good and who follows His commands. Today, ya Muslimin, you are being fought everywhere you turn your faces. In Pakistan, the Kerry-Lugar bill will promote $7 billion worth of aid over 5 years, on the condition that the Pakistani army fights you on the borders of Afghanistan. In Somalia, the United States is spending billions to prop up Sharif Ahmed, the ally of the American government, and has cut off humanitarian aid to try to demolish and destroy the Shabab and Mujahideen, those waging jihad fi sabilillah, to spread the deen of al-Islam and to fight the American version of it in Somalia. And in Afghanistan, as Obama decides whether or not to deploy tens of thousands of more troops, America spends countless hundreds of billions of dollars waging their jihad against your deen. Yet our leadership and the Muslims living here in the West have nothing to say. We tell you that this war is against your religion, that your allegiance is to your religion and not to your nationalist aspirations, that the Quran commands that you disavow and make hatred and enmity between democracy, between nationalism, between secularism, and that you see Obama as the enemy he really is, that you see the United States as the enemy it really is. We tell you Muslims to rise up. Read the flyers the brothers are handing. Log on to the website and create a grassroots mobilization that calls for the end and the abolishment of America's war against Islam. The Prophet Muhammad said to fight them, struggle against them with your world, with your word, and with your weapons. To struggle against the falsehood of the kuffar, and to strive with wealth and self repeatedly in the Quran, that is the purpose of your life. And the proofs are provided for you innumerably in the text that the scholars of today try to eradicate, that represent hundreds of years of Islamic scholarship and the most powerful, radical ideology the world has ever seen. The most revolutionary spreading message that ever came to humanity. La ilaha illallah. In Palestine, America props up that puppet, Mahmoud Abbas. In Saudi Arabia and Egypt, they prop up the enemies of your people by funding the Egyptian government with billions in aid, by engaging in economic transactions between Saudi Arabia and America. And in this way, they have taken as awliya those enemies of Islam. Those enemies of Islam.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
We call you to support the Mujahideen. We call you to defend the honor of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We call you to understand the ayat of the Quran al-Kareem that Allah Azza wa Jalla has sent to you, that says it is He that has sent His religion and His messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the deen of haqq, so that it may dominate, so that it may prevail over all other ways of life. So how can you deny that Islam is not meant to dominate democracy and secularism? How can you deny that Islam was not sent to abolish all of Jahiliyyah? How can you not read the evidences before you refute? The proof is in the documents in front of you. But you choose not to read them. It is time that we adhere to the way of the Prophet, to the true way of the Prophet, and go back to your deen. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that when you are content with following the tails of cattle, and when you engage in the unlawful transactions and the riba, and you stop fighting jihad fi sabilillah, that Allah will send down a humiliating punishment upon you until you return to your deen. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has connected a return to the deen to a return to the jihad. This jihadic revival will resurrect, ya Muslimin, our dignity, the truth, the honor, and the blessings of the Muslim nation. And it will eventually extinguish the falsehood of Barack Obama and the American regime. They are your enemies, ya Muslimin. America wants to conquer your land, conquer your resources, kill your brothers.